Hi, I'm Jenny, and in this Q&A, I'm going to answer whether or not I would pay over retail for a Rolex, what the best dial color on a diver is, and my favorite up-and-coming micro brands, and many more. So let's get started. So these questions came from YouTube and Instagram, and we're going to start from YouTube. So the first one is, we talk about conversation starter pieces. As a female watch enthusiast, have you ever started conversation with a stranger just to know what watch that gentleman was wearing? If yes, what watch was it? Well, I have started conversations before, at least I try to, but it wasn't necessarily because I wanted to see what that watch was, but because I recognized it and I just wanted to, kind of say hi. And there was this one guy on a bus and he was wearing the Hulk Submariner. And I was wearing the same watch at the time. And so I tapped him on the shoulder and he looked around and I said, "Hey, cool watch," and pointed on my wrist. And he just looked at me and sort of gave me like a confused smile and then just turned around, and that was about it. The second time was with my orthodontist. He was wearing a Daytona. He was wearing a Panda Daytona, and I saw it and I said, "Hey, that's a great watch you have." And he just smiled and kept doing what he was doing and did not say anything about it. So perhaps this is a German thing. People don't really like to talk about watches in public. So I just stopped trying to get into conversation with people about their watches altogether because it always felt very awkward. But let me know what you think. Have you done it before? Did someone came up to you? And if so, did you like it or not? Let me know in the comments down below, because I don't know. It seemed very weird the last couple of times, and I probably won't do it again. Next question from YouTube. Would you rather go for a relatively cheaper brand's best watch or bigger brand's entry-level watch? So initially I would probably say bigger brand entry-level, because I associate a bigger brand with better quality, which we know isn't necessarily true. So it's difficult to say. I don't think is there a best watch from a cheaper brand or the lowest from a big brand? There are certain entry-level watches in terms of, pricing and perhaps complication or material, but I think you can't really generalize that. I would decide from watch to watch whether or not I would go for it. I wouldn't necessarily care about if it's the best one from a cheaper brand or an entry-level from a bigger brand. I don't think that would affect my decision. The next question comes from Spartacus. What watch would you recommend to someone who is graduating university and entering a professional life? Well, that means that you would probably best advised with a watch that works in all sorts of situations, that doesn't cost too much, and that just looks good no matter if it's on a weekend or during the week when you are at your job. I think my standard go-to in that situation would be to go for a Nomos, perhaps a Tangente, because I think that case in Lug Design speaks to a lot of people and it works very well on most wrists. It's larger, but I think that makes it more contemporary and modern, and I think that is going to serve you very well. It can be dressed up or down, it can look very casual. You can switch straps on it, and that would be my recommendation for you. So the next question comes from Leo the Kid, and the question is, what brands do you think are underrated and might be on their way to glory? I always think saying that something's underrated is a bit of a weird claim, but the brands from which I think we're going to see a lot more in the future are, for example, Monta or Norqain. There is a great review here on YouTube from the 10 and 2 ladies, and they have reviewed the Norqain Adventurer ladies watch. It's a great looking watch. It's not your typical ladies watch, which I really appreciate, and they offer some great looks and dial variations on it, and I really like it. I've also seen Kudoke popping up recently quite a lot on Facebook. They're a German watch manufacturer, and if you are into very unique but elegant looking watches, I would totally recommend checking them out. They look like, some of their pieces look insane in a good way. Very interesting way of manipulating material, let's put it that way. Next question from Kyle. What is the next step in watch innovation, or will manufacturers continue to harken to the past for their designs and layout? So, I mean, obviously I'm not a watchmaker, so I can't get into too much technical detail, but I think what we're going to see a lot more of is just refining technologies that already exist, you know, like increasing a power reserve, improving materials, make it more long lasting, make them more durable or shock resistant. I think this is what we're going to see in the future, but I'm totally happy to be proven wrong here. But I think we're going to see a lot more re-editions of older models, so they are going to continue harken to the past, I think. We're not over that yet. Okay, we're going to switch over to Instagram now. And the first one on here is, what would be your ideal video game inspired watch? Who, what, and why? And I'm pretty sure this question is triggered by me completely freaking out over the Seiko X Street Fighter collaboration, because that is insane and I can't wait to get my fingers on one of these watches. And my ideal video game inspired watch would probably be perhaps some kind of crossover between Cartier and BioShock. You know, I have like an Art Deco sort of case, so something rectangular, and then have a dark dial so it resembles Rapture. And the second one, if I'm allowed a second choice, I would love to see, let's have a special G-Shock for the Metal Gear Solid franchise. That would be cool. And I think that would go very well, wouldn't it? It would make sense to have a G-Shock for Metal Gear Solid. So yeah, these two, please make it happen. I would give you all my money. Next question on Instagram from Z SpongeBob, sorry. Which watch up to 1,500 would you pick? And it's 1,500 euro. So right now I would probably go for a pre-owned Santos, because as some of you might know, I've been talking about the Cartier tank for quite some time, but that itch has been scratched by, ta-da, my Seiko tank. It's a tank homage from Seiko, and I really love it. And it really did, it completely filled that void in my heart for a rectangular tank shaped watch. So this is that, and now I'm really lusting over a Santos because I want a Cartier so bad. I really like the dial, the Roman numerals, it's so classic. And it breaks my heart how beautiful they are. So I think I would invest these 1,500 in a pre-owned Santos, because I think there's a lot of lady-sized Santos on Chrono24. CJ Horology asks, dive watch, blue or black dial? Well, I have to say, if it's about the dive watch, I would probably go for a black dial every day, because I really like the contrast when you have the looms and it's against a black dial. I think that always looks very great. Though, I mean, there are a lot of other colored dive watches out there that look stunning as well. I mean, the Pelagos in blue is incredibly nice to look at, but if I had a choice, I would go for a black dial. Time to Rule is asking, what's your thoughts on the Rolex Air King 116-900? So that's the latest one. While I really love the vintage Air Kings, especially the one that I had in my video a couple of weeks ago, I don't really like the layout on the dial on the newer ones. It's a bit too cluttered for me. You've got these ceramic numerals, and then you've got the white and the green lettering. It's all a bit too much for me. I also don't really like the font of the Arabic numerals. It's not my cup of tea. I think it's still, I mean, the case is great, but the dial is just not for me. Next question from Ben, and the question is, what did you think about Tenet? I did post on my Instagram story when I went to the cinema to go and see Tenet, and I felt incredibly stupid when I came out of it. But stupid in a good way, because that film really makes you think, and it really challenges you and your way about how you think of time, and the concept of time not being linear, but like a complete mess. I can't really explain it. I really liked it, I really enjoyed it. The cinematography is insane. Just an overall very great film, but I think you have to, it's that kind of film that you have to see a couple of more times to really understand it, if you even understand it at all. So I definitely recommend go checking it out if you can. Next question is from September Rains. Thoughts on the watch or the watches Hamilton made for Tenet? I really like them. The only issue I have is that there is a difference between the watch that was featured in the movie and the one that you can get from Hamilton. Because in the movie there is a digital display on the watch that is important for the story. And on the actual watch that you can buy from Hamilton, it's missing that display. And that kind of bugs me. I think if you market that watch to be from the movie, then it should be the watch from the movie. The Simple Man asks, would you pay over retail for a Rolex? And the short and simple answer is no, I would not. I would not pay over retail for a Rolex. First, I don't have that money to do that. And second, I think it's just, if a watch is not happening for me at an AD, or if I can't get it for a reasonable price, pre-owned, then the watch is just not for me. If you pay over retail for a Rolex, that's fine, you do you, but it's not for me. Next question from Caparine is Moonwatch on a bracelet or a NATO strap? I would say I would prefer it on a NATO strap. I think it's more comfortable. It looks very great. It makes it a bit more sporty and interesting. And I really am not the biggest fan of the bracelet on the Moonwatch, so I would go for a NATO. SPE asks for my favorite flavor in ice cream, and it's chocolate. What is your favorite flavor in ice cream? Let me know in the comments down below. That's a very important question to ask. Zachary Malik asks, what do you think of guys wearing the new pink or turquoise Rolex Oyster Perpetual? Does that question kind of imply that there's an issue with the guys wearing a pink or turquoise dial? Because I don't think there is. If you fancy a pink dial and you're a guy, then you should wear a pink dial. I don't think there's a problem in 2020. Just wear whatever you like, and at the end of the day, no one really cares about what you wear anyways. And if that brings you joy, then go for it. And next question comes from Gray, and it is, do I prefer men's watches over women's watches in general, and why? Yeah, I do prefer men's watches in general, simply because a lot of ladies' watches that are being categorized as that by brands or manufacturers tend to be very small. Not all of them, but you know, in general, it's rather smaller size. It's oftentimes iced out or very dainty and does not have the movement that I am attracted to beating inside. And it's just in general not my cup of tea oftentimes, not always, but many of them have also not the best value in terms of price. Like, you get very little for very much money, which I'm not a big fan of, to be honest. So I think that's why I gravitate towards men's watches, because I think there's a more, like, a bigger variety of watches to choose from. You've got all sorts of different materials, you've got all sorts of dials and sizes, and I just like him better because of that. Ooh, Lafinka asks, BlackBerry 58 black or blue? Well, Lafinka, let me tell you, I would go for the black one every day. I really love the blue as well, don't get me wrong. I like the color, it's nice and refreshing. It's a very cool looking watch, but I would always go for the black dial version. And last but not least, John asks, how's life? And John, that is a very nice question. Life's good, thank you. I hope your life is good as well. And that is the end of my Q&A for today. Thank you so much for sending in all of your questions on YouTube and on Instagram. And if you want your question featured in my next Q&A, make sure to follow me here on YouTube. You can just subscribe to my channel and I will post on my community tab, or just follow me on Instagram. And as always, thank you so much for watching this video today. If you enjoyed this, make sure to give it a thumbs up and I will see you in my next one. Bye.